So should you buy an iPhone 7 or an iPhone 6s? Last week I did should you buy iPhone 6 or iPhone 6s, and let's find out if you should buy a 7 or a 6s. That's coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up guys, Nick here. Should you buy an iPhone 7 or an iPhone 6s? Well, let's begin with the durability. So both of these phones do feel about the same in the hand, and in my experience using both of them, I can tell you if I'm looking at it from the front, I can't tell them apart unless you look at the back, where you do see the new improved camera design, as well as the lines are now gone for the iPhone 7, which is a nice touch. It's even hidden more on the black editions, but overall day to day using both of these phones is about the same exact experience in terms of weight, in terms of design, in terms of the fingerprint scanner. I mean, going from a 6S to a 7 is going to feel like a sidestep rather than an upgrade. So if you're going to buy this based on durability, just know that if you buy the 6S, you're getting the same durability as you would on an iPhone 7, but you do get IP67 for water as well as dust resistance. So now that we're on the topic of durability, let's talk a little bit about the feel in hand between the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 6s. So both do feel quite good in the hand, but I do want to mention that both are quite slippery. So if you do decide to pick up either an iPhone 6s or an iPhone 7, in my experience, I can tell you that both do have a slip factor to keep in mind. If you are the type of person who likes to rock it naked, I do recommend you guys pick up a skin for one of these guys because they are very easy to drop. But other than that, feel in hand feels definitely solid, definitely premium, and I would give them both a good solid 9 out of 10 in terms of the design and the feel in hand for these Apple iPhone 6s and 7. Now in terms of display, we are talking about a 4.7 inch Retina display that is 326 pixels per inch on both of these devices, and what that means is that both are extremely sharp, but they're not the best displays on the market because they're not even full HD here. But if you decide to go with the 6s, you aren't getting that P3 cinema grade display like you're getting on the iPhone 7. So the iPhone 7 does have a little bit better representation of colors than the iPhone 6s. So if you do a lot of photo editing on your iPhone, I definitely have to recommend you go with the iPhone 7. But it's not so much different that it's like a deciding factor. Once again, I don't think this is the thing that you should decide your iPhone on here. If you're going between a 6s and a 7, is going to be the display, because that's just not cutting it in terms of an upgrade over the 6s for me. It's barely a difference, and mainly what you're going to see on the 7 is warmer colors than you're going to find on the iPhone 6s, but the 6s does have a pretty stellar display as well. Both I'm going to give a 9 out of 10 in terms of the display department. Now, both of these devices do run the bread and butter iOS 10.3.2 with upgradable software for many years to come here. So whether you go with the 6s or the iPhone 7, just know that you are getting pretty much the same software that we've had forever here on both devices. And it is a little bit better there on the iPhone 7 in terms of speed, just raw speed with the A10 CPU on iOS just runs phenomenally for the iPhone 7. But that's not to say that the A9 on the iPhone 6s is some kind of chump or something like that. The i9 on the iPhone 6s is still one of the better running smartphones on the market today. So if you decide to go with either one of these, just rest assured you are going to be getting updates. I do expect the iPhone 6s to last as long in terms of support as the iPhone 7, but definitely both have 3D touch, and this was introduced in the 6s, making it a better device than the iPhone 6, but the iPhone 7 brings the same features. So not too many upgrades in terms of software, and all in all, both are going to run the same exact software. Just the iPhone 7 is going to run it just a little bit faster, and that little bit faster sometimes can make a difference to you. Now, talking about how it runs all of this, now in terms of performance, this is the section I want to talk about now. Performance on the iPhone 7, if you can afford it, is definitely better than that of the iPhone 6s, and it's very noticeable when you're doing heavy things like running multiple tabs at one time, and you're going into games, and then you're coming out, you're doing some video editing and stuff like that. I do have speed tests to show the raw speed of the iPhone 7 on this channel, but I do got to recommend you get the iPhone 7 if you just want sheer performance. That A10 Fusion chip combined with 2 gigabytes of RAM on that smaller display that's not even full HD just makes this iPhone 7 scream in performance, and especially if you get the higher storage capacity, which has been found to be a little bit faster than the 32 gigabyte standard on the iPhone 7, it is a win there in performance. But day-to-day light stuff like just opening the calendar, opening the calculator, going in their Facebook feed, using Snapchat, using the camera, these are all light things that both iPhone 6s and iPhone 7 will handle with no problem here. So I do recommend the iPhone 7 for sheer speed, but overall I'm going to give the 6s a 9 out of 10 and give the iPhone 7 a 10 out of 10 in terms of speed. It's one of the fastest phones in the world. So in terms of the texting, both are going to be about the same in terms of texting. Both offer iMessage, and you have all the suite of applications you can get in the app store, such as WeChat, Kik, Google Allo, all of the different messaging apps that come with both these phones. The keyboard experience is bar none one of the best in the business, and both do this incredibly well. Of course, with the A10 CPU, if you are texting crazily, you might never get a lag on that because it's just so powerful where you might get a little stutter from time to time on the 6S, but that's extremely rare, and it's actually only happened to me a couple times. But since we're talking about texting, what about the calling? And I actually found that the iPhone 7 in the beginning stages of getting this phone had a little bit of troubles with reception, but I think Apple has fixed that in some software updates. So the iPhone 6S has never really had no issues to me in terms of call quality. I haven't heard anybody saying there's a problem there when it comes to that. So I definitely want to mention in this review also that both of these phones do have a little bit different Touch IDs. They're both second generation Touch IDs, but the iPhone 7 does give you a taptic engine feedback, so it feels a little bit more like a MacBook on your iPhone 7 versus in the iPhone 6S, which feels like a traditional click button. So you do got to take that into account. But in terms of overall phone call quality, the speaker on the iPhone 7 sounded great. If you do speaker phone calls a lot with business conferences or calls or anything like that where you need the speakerphone or you rely on that, the 7 is the way to go in that regard. But both will handle calls and texting with no problem. I'm going to give them a solid 9.5 out of 10 in this regard. So what about those cameras on the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 6S? Now on paper, these cameras do look quite similar. These are both 12 megapixel iSight cameras, but the iPhone 7 is an updated sensor and it does have better post-processing than the iPhone 6S, and it does produce better accurate colors than the iPhone 6S. It's a little bit hard to see through the camera lens here that I'm showing you, but if you do pull these both up in Photoshop, so editors who like to shoot in RAW, you will see a huge difference in the iPhone 7 up close when you get closer in on those pixels. But for everyday light users, the front camera is a little bit of an update too on the iPhone 7. So I would go ahead and pick up the iPhone 7 if you want a better front-facing selfie camera. But that's not to say that the iPhone 6S is a bad front-facing camera. It's just not better than the iPhone 7. But overall, both of these cameras will impress, and I would pick the iPhone 7 if you want the best of the best camera on any iPhone. Now, discussing battery life between the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 6S, both of these are not going to get you through a full long day. These are going to get you through a decent work day. So I would say from like 9 to 6 p.m. around that time. So this is the type of phone that you're going to want to go ahead and pick up a battery pack for both of these. But I do think the 7 just slightly ekes out the iPhone 6S in this department as well, due to the fact that it has the A10 CPU. But I do recommend you get a battery pack for both of these. The iOS battery bug there was in the iPhone 6S made it shut off around 20%. That has been rectified in the latest iOS versions, and I haven't seen it happen to me since then for the 6S. But overall, both of these are about the same in battery life. I would give the iPhone 7 maybe 30 minutes more on screen time. So get the iPhone 7 if you want the slightly better battery life. So I'm not the biggest gamer, admittedly so, but I do have to mention that gaming on both of these phones is fantastic. You can see I play stuff like Sonic Dash and Jetpack Joyride light games. Dead Trigger is a little bit of a heavier title, but they do run these pretty flawlessly, and the iPhone 7 is not that much different. It's a little bit faster to load things. It's a little bit better in the graphics department, but it's just a little bit better. It's not like it killing the iPhone 6S. So both of these are going to run mobile games pretty greatly. You will have some frame rate drops in the heaviest of heavy titles from time to time, but both are going to run them pretty great. So they're both good in gaming. Alright guys, so we talked about my experiences between the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 6S. Which one should you buy? Which one is the better buy? Which one is better value for money? And that's going to come down to what you use it for. Both of these are to the point where they're so powerful. They both have great cameras. They're going to get the job done. Both are extremely premium smartphones, but I would say the iPhone 7 is going to be for those people who want a slightly better design, and they do pretty much everything on their phone, from running their business, maybe from just, doing the most powerful things like video editing, photo editing, all that. You're going to have a slight improvement in the P3 display for more color accuracy on the iPhone 7, and the 6S is going to be for those people who still want great power, great design, but they also don't want to drop, $700-800. They rather go $300-400. You're getting an excellent smartphone here in the iPhone 6S. Personally, if it was me, I'm going iPhone 7, innovation all day, every day, latest and greatest. I know what the Android fanboys are thinking, innovation? No way. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, do me a favor, click the like button for me, post your comments down below. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.
Yeah.